Hello, I'm Matt Ballin. I'm a senior software engineer for McKesson Corporation and a PowerBuilder MVP. In this short video, I'm going to demonstrate how to implement polymorphism in PowerBuilder. Polymorphism is a language's ability to process objects differently depending on their data type or class. This means that events or functions with the same name behave differently depending upon the referenced object. For the purposes of our discussion, we'll be talking about operational polymorphism, which is where you have totally different objects with functions defined with the same name, and each function operates based on its implementation within the specific object. And inclusional polymorphism, wherein you have objects inherited along the same class line, which all have a same method name, and the implementation depends upon at what level along the inheritance chain the object is when the method is called. So let's take a look at our example. I'm running PowerBuilder 12.5 on Windows 7, PowerBuilder Classic 12.5. Get my library list. Now what I've done here is I have a window, and I've placed a series of objects on the window. I have a checkbox, radio button, some command buttons, static text field. Each of these is a separate class. Let's take a look at the items. Here's my command button class, and I have set a method up called setColor. And this function is going to be called by the window that it's placed upon. And its purpose is to change the background color of the control. Well, for a command button, we don't have access to that property. So I've set this method up. It has a parameter, which is the color value, but it actually does nothing. Now here's a checkbox. In this change color method, I can set the back color equal to that color. Now I have both an event defined and a function defined. I have an OF set color function and a UE set color event. They both do basically the same thing, but it will become clearer once I demonstrate the actual implementation. I have the same for radio button, same for static text. Taking a look at our main window, I have two command buttons which are going to change the color of my controls. One is going to use the function, one is going to use the event. If I take a look at the script for the function, what I'm doing is I'm getting a reference to the parent window that the button is on, and I'm looping through the control array. All of the controls on the window are contained within an array on the window. So I'm looping through that array, and I'm looking at the type of the classes that are on the array. And if there's a radio button, static text, checkbox, or a command button, I'm calling my setColor function. I'm using the keyword dynamically because I'm generically referencing this function. So I have to use dynamic. Now if I'm using the events, I can do things a little bit simpler. Again, I'm getting a reference to my parent window. I'm looping through my control array, but in this method, all I'm doing is I'm dynamically triggering the UE change color event on each of those controls. And one advantage to this method is PowerBuilder does not throw an exception if the event does not exist on the control. So in this case, I don't care what the controls are. I don't have to look for a specific control and only trigger the event if it matches a certain type. I can call the event on all of the controls, and if it doesn't exist on that control, that's fine. My program's still going to run. So let's run this application. So here's my function. I click on that, loops through the array, goes through, sets all of the background colors to red. I choose my event, does the same thing, only it changes them to this orange color. So that there really isn't any difference in the execution of the code, but using the events is much simpler. Now for my inclusional polymorphism example, what I've done is I'm going to change the title of my window. If I take a look at this window and look at my functions, I have a WF set title. Now if you notice the script icon is half blue, that indicates there's ancestor code. Now in my descendant, all I'm doing is I'm setting the title to whatever string gets passed in, but I'm prefixing it with the word descendant. Now if I look at my ancestor code, I'm just setting the title equal to whatever string gets sent in. Now on my button, I'm triggering an event on the parent window, and I'm checking to see what the value of a checkbox is. If it's checked, I'm calling the ancestor WF set title function, and I do that by using the super pronoun. If that checkbox is not checked, I'm just calling the same method, but because I'm not designating the ancestor level, it will call the function at this specific level of inheritance. In this case, the child class window, which is W polymorphic. So let's run this. I just click title change. Notice my checkbox is unchecked. It's using the descendant method, descendant title. Click it again, same thing. I check my checkbox, click it. Now it's using the ancestor method. It's just changing it to the word title. If I uncheck it, it goes back and uses the descendant method. So that's an example of inclusional polymorphism, where the level at which the method is invoked determines which gets called. Thank you very much. That's all for today.